Powered to lead. Wired to learn.
Hello, and welcome to Power Test 26 in Nashville. The Power Test show is hosted by NETA, the International Electrical Testing Association. And I'm Ellen Parson, Editor-in-Chief of EC&M Magazine. And I'm here with some subject matter experts today, all of whom gave presentations this morning or will be doing so tomorrow throughout this week of training for the Power Test attendees. And we wanted to just pick a couple sessions that we thought would resonate well with the EC&M audience, as well as the attendees here, to show you kind of just key takeaways from their presentation to give you an overview of what's going on here at the show. So I have one of those subject matter experts with me here today, Jon Bucciarelli with SDMyers, and he gave a presentation this morning on the 8 truths of transformer reliability. So we definitely want to get to what those 8 truths are. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it for you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to get an opportunity to talk about this.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go over some of the key takeaways. So let's start with, you opened the presentation with the idea that transformer failures aren't just electrical events. They're reliability and business failures. So that's kind of a new take. So if you could go over, where do you see most of these reliability programs falling short? Can you start with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as we think about transformers, just to give a little background, we consider the transformer to be the heart of the electric power system. And as I mentioned in the presentation, just like our hearts and our bodies, they kind of do a whole bunch of things and people don't really realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And transformers kind of act the same way in that they provide so many functions, not only internally to the transformer, but externally to other systems without people realizing it. They make a little bit of a hum. But other than that, you really don't know what's going on. And so
you just assume everything's okay.
You assume everything's okay, well, when in fact, that's not really what's going on. And so internally, this idea of reliability is you have to be able to assess a lot of different things to really understand the risk and the assessment of what's happening inside of a transformer. And it's super critical to know there's not just one thing that will trigger it for you.
Okay, great. So I know your first truth, you started with not all transformers are created equal. So how should organizations or our audience, anyone that's dealing with transformers, practically apply the asset when you're setting maintenance strategies?
Sure. And this truth really stems more beyond than just the idea of, well, who made this transformer or who made that? It's not the manufacturer per se. It's the idea that transformers within your fleet, they do something, right? So some transformers are super critical in that they run the entire operation, and some transformers we would consider to be less critical, and they may run the parking lot lights or something like that.
Sure.
And so when you consider the criticality of a transformer, that should really play into how much attention you play to it. So, back to the body analysis, like our heart, if our heart stops, game over. And so we really should be paying a lot of attention to that. Transformers are different in the field or in companies because some customers have hundreds of transformers.
Yeah.
Some are really critical. If that particular transformer goes down, the organization is down and it's $1 million an hour or a minute or a day or whatever it is. And some transformers, if they fail, you might lose some productivity, but it's not catastrophic. And so when we say all transformers are not created equally, we mean that customers really have to assess the criticality and then pair that with the condition of them to be able to determine what steps they should take to proactively treat that.
Do you find that they're already doing that, or is that something you educate them on, or is that kind of they don't?
Yeah, one of our
only
missions,
when it happens, and then they realize, we should be paying attention to this as well.
Unfortunately, catastrophic transformer failures are what get people's attention. We have made a life journey for 60 years since Stan started the company to try to educate customers on the risks associated with their transformers. We find that of the hundreds of thousands of transformers that we test, about 35% of them have some level of degradation going on.
Okay.
And only about 5% of those customers actually take action to mitigate those things. So it's a pretty low number. And it's one of those ideas that they're looking at the number and they're thinking, oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But in reality, there are certain things that are going on behind the scenes that will continue to degrade beyond.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. Okay. One of your other truths was the oil always tells a story. So for engineers that are already running those fluid testing, what are they missing in the interpretation or trends analysis?
Yeah, I think the oil telling the story is that what's missed most often is everybody wants the number and they want to make a judgment on that specific number.
Okay.
And so by doing that, what they're missing is they're missing the trending. So they're missing what's happening over time. They're taking a snapshot in time, but they're missing the trending. And so what happens often with the oil is it will tell a story. And if you're paying attention, you will see a slow fade or a slow degradation in the insulation of the paper. The story of the frog in the pot that's boiling, right? Raise the temperature a little bit. The frog doesn't realize it, or different things like that. But that's what's going on in a transformer. And so I think what's missed most often is everybody's looking for that passing grade.
Yeah.
Check.
That makes sense.
We got it. It's acceptable. It must be okay. And not really understanding it's acceptable, but something is still going on. So trending is really important in oil analysis.
That's a great point. Good. So temperature's the next one. You characterize temperature as the silent killer. So in your experience, what factors are most commonly accelerating this insulation aging?
Yeah, so that idea of heat in a transformer, anytime there's a rise of 10 degrees above the design temperature, the insulation in a transformer, the life of it can be cut in half just by a simple 10 degrees rise. So if a transformer is designed for a 65 C degree rise and it goes to 75 degrees, that begins to eat at the paper and destroy the paper. And those are not huge numbers. It's not like doubling or tripling. It's a small rise. And so what are the things that are doing it? It's all the things you mentioned, right? So overloading, tap changers not functioning properly, the fluid not cooling properly through the radiators, or fans not kicking on when they're supposed to. All of those things contribute to heating of a transformer. And again, a 10-degree rise may not really trigger an alarm for people, but it's really having a big impact on the insulation in the transformer. Okay,
that's really good to know and understand for our audience. You also mentioned moisture and oxygen are also described as enemies within, I think you said. So beyond detection, what mitigation strategies would actually move the needle on extending your transformer life?
Yeah, moisture is a big one that really needs to be mitigated, because you want a dry transformer to function. A dry transformer functions really well and it's very safe. The moisture that is inside of a transformer, there's this phenomenon called hygroscopic. And the essence of it is that the moisture inside of the fluid does not want to stay in the fluid. It actually wants to go into the paper.
Okay.
And so the paper, the insulation, has the ability to hold about 100 times the amount in the fluid. And so what people miss often is they think that the oil is dry when in fact the oil may be dry, but the paper is really wet. And that's way more dangerous than moisture being in the fluid. And so mitigation steps need to really be taken. Online dryers are a great way to do this without taking transformers down.
Okay.
You can also take a transformer out of service and dry it out, but that's very costly from a productive standpoint. It's also very costly from a downtime and things like that
standpoint.
And it's inconvenient. So online dryers are a great way to do that, and they will go through that process of when the moisture gets pulled out of the paper into the fluid, then you can take it out of the fluid, and then that cycle will repeat. One of the things that customers do oftentimes is they will take the quick step of dehydrating the fluid, which is good, but it doesn't bring the moisture out of the paper. And so you can do those things and then come back several months later and be like, wait, it's wet again. Well, yes, more moisture came out of the paper and now it's in the fluid again. So there's a lot of different mitigation techniques, and it's really customer focused on what they want to do. But I'm a big fan of online online dryers because they can take the task and they do it little by little without having the transformer offline.
And that's what you educate people on. There's just so much to get right here.
There really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also stated monitoring without action is noise in your presentation. So you're talking about the rise of online sensors and digital monitoring. So how should teams structure their response protocols so that the data that they're getting is what they need?
Yeah, I think the danger of data is oftentimes there's so much data, it drives people to inaction. They don't know what to do.
Okay.
And so, and even with sensors and everything like that. And so
they just ignore it. Like it's easy to ignore, right?
The lights on your car, even I was in the parking lot the other day and somebody's horn was honking, which a few years ago meant somebody's car was being broken into. Yeah, now people just kind of ignore it and walk right by. And so it's great to have those mechanisms to alert people. The question is, are people allowed to respond? Are they empowered to act on what they're seeing in these sensors?
Yeah.
And we are big fans at SDMyers that an ounce of prevention is a really good thing.
Yeah.
And so when you see these sensors and you see them moving in a particular direction, taking action will stop that.
Okay. Makes sense. It's a good point. And then you emphasize that loading history often matters more than nameplate age. So could you elaborate on that, what that means and how that factors into risk assessment?
Yeah, sure. So the philosophy that we have at SDMyers is called Max Life.
Okay.
It was coined by our founder, Stan Myers, and the premise is essentially that the life of a transformer is the life of the paper.
Okay.
And so if you take care of the paper, the transformer should last a really long time because there's not a lot of components in there that move and things like that. And so the idea of being able to take that and go with that from a max life perspective is what we want to be able to do. And so all of those variables that factor into the reliability plan are so important to do.
Okay. Is that a difficult sell to those customers? Do they see that, or do you have to convince them that's the way to go because it's counterintuitive to what they would initially conclude? Let's just take care of the things we can do now.
Yeah, it really is difficult because it's one of those questions of it depends.
Okay.
How much maintenance should I do on this transformer? Well, it depends. It depends on how critical that transformer is for you. At our facility, we have a single power transformer. And so we test it frequently. We online monitor it. We have a spare in the building because we want to be able to risk mitigate quickly if something were to go wrong.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we do all of the things that we speak about. And so we hope that we never have that situation.
Okay, great. So, I think your final truth, you focused on fleet level reliability. So for organizations that are making decisions or, on dozens of hundreds of transformers that they have, what does a mature system level reliability program actually look like?
Yeah, a mature system looks like looking at it as a collection as opposed to a bunch of individual assets.
Okay.
And so, if you think about a financial portfolio and you kind of diversify in your portfolio, some go up, some go down.
Yeah.
Your transformer fleet doesn't quite work like that. If one of them goes down, you're out.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to look at it as a collection with that criticality in mind, and then really trying to navigate and manage how much emphasis you put on each one.
Okay.
Obviously, the more critical transformer should get more maintenance, more frequent inspections, more frequent testing, maybe online monitors, different things, because you want to be sure that those are staying up and running all the time. So the approach we take, we call it a reliability assessment.
Okay.
And we will look at all the fleets, all of the transformers in a fleet, and we'll give them a health score.
Oh, okay.
And that health score is dependent on the criticality of the transformer, but also the condition. And what that does is a couple of things. Is it keeps customers from focusing extra time and attention
where they
on
don't need to.
non-critical assets, but it also allows them to focus and emphasize on maybe not such critical assets that are degrading, right? Or I'm sorry, it allows them to focus on critical assets that are just marginally degrading, that they might not normally pay attention to. They might feel like, it's okay, not a big deal. But the criticality of them says, just okay is not okay. I think I'm stealing that from a commercial somewhere. So But yeah.
That's so interesting. So that's just what every reliability program must get right. And you went over all of those. Just fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks. And one of the things, for us is we like to partner with customers. We like to think of ourselves as stewarding customers' assets. We don't sell transformers. We don't do those types of things. So we partner with our customers to be able to look at that because that's the knowledge that we have. And so we want to share that, educate people. And we believe that an educated customer is the best customer because when they're educated, then they know what action to take and when to take it.
And that's definitely what you did with the presentation today and in this interview. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that looks like a great place to wrap up our conversation today. Thank you, Jon, for taking time out with me today and talking about the 8 truths of transformer reliability. We learned a lot. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us at Power Test 26 in Nashville.